Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm going to be playing in my This Is Snotter book again today. The page I've earmarked to have a go at this time is this one. So it's pages 40 and 41. This is not a book, this is an action sculpture. Come up with an interesting way to make This Is Not a Book move. For example, tie an umbrella to the spine, drop from a height. I had an idea of using, I've got lots of these little ladybird books, I love them. I turn them into, I'll show you one, hang on. I turn the covers into little sketchbooks like this where I can do, that I can just use for art journals and things. And I use the insides for collage, and I love these little books. I loved them when I was a kid and I still love them now. I bought a little stack of these sort of science-based ones, which probably came out around the time when I was a kid, and I bought a whole stack of them from a National Trust place at a really good price. You can't always get them for a good price, you can't always get them at all. And I was so chuffed with these. One of the things I love is that in these books, it's not just the boy doing all the fun sciencey stuff, you know, they make sure that they show the girl doing these things as well, which is great. I had this idea because I'd remembered seeing this page where the little girl is demonstrating how to move a heavy pile of books by just pushing with her little finger, because she's used marbles underneath as ball bearings. So they're demonstrating how you can use ball bearings to reduce friction and make things move more easily. And I just thought this would be a really fun take on this page. And also, I mean, these illustrations are amazing. I don't know how well you can see it, but look how those marbles are painted. I mean, they're beautiful. Beautifully illustrated, these little books. This is the page it came with, but I'm not going to stick that in as well. I've written my own my own little version, a little story to go with this picture, written in the style of Janet and John books, or Peter and Jane books, if anybody remembers those. If you're my age or older, you might well do, but I'll come to that later. So what I'm going to do for now is stick this page in. I'm not going to worry about covering up the words. So I'm going to line the page up with that top corner. Obviously, it's not big enough to fill the book page. So what I'm going to do is kind of paint in the rest of the scene, leaving a big blank bit over here to write my little story. So I'll just have it kind of fading off. That's my plan. It means I'm going to have to try and match the colours and vaguely the style of the bit. So I'm not sure how well I'm going to do this, but I think it'd be quite fun to try. I thought I'd play with my gouache paints today. But before I get to start on the gouache, I'm going to give a coat of just white acrylic paint to both pages, just to give me a start. Because otherwise the gouache is just going to sink straight into this paper and it won't be very nice to work with. Now, I will say now that the little story I've written has got one rude word in it. So I'll warn you later on when that's coming up. So I've got a little selection of different sizes brushes here, and then another little pot of brushes there just in case. And I've got my pot of water. Okay, let's just get this page covered with white paint first. It's not going to cover it completely. I'm being an idiot. I'm covering the bit where I'm going to stick the picture. Oh, good start, mate. That's all covered. Obviously I need to let it dry. I haven't worried so much about covering that area because obviously I'm meant to be sticking the page over that. Right. So while that's drying, I thought I'll just start mixing my colours. So I'm going to want some of this background colour, a little bit of Peter. He's going to be Peter. I've decided they're Peter and Jane, not Janet and John, because Janet and John were a little bit earlier, a little bit more old-fashioned. I think Janet tended to help Mummy in the house while John helped Daddy in the garage. Or Peter and Jane were a little bit more progressive, so we're going to go with Peter. So Peter, I need to do the rest of Peter's arm and a little bit of his skin tone for his other hand. The fence will fade away up there. Add a tiny bit of green, but I do need to leave plenty of light space for my words. So, I mean, traditionally the books were coloured illustration on one side and white on the other. So I suppose what I could do is just do enough to fill in the rest of this page. Yes, that would make sense. It would look more like the pictures then. So I need really very little paint actually. So a little bit of green, bit of the fence colour, tiny bit of the red and his flesh colour, a little bit of this ground and some of this darker ground that's sort of in shadow. As well start with the flesh tone, as I've got some for Peter, although this is going to be a very pinky flesh tone. I'm going to need a little bit of yellow in that. Some burnt sienna there. There's some ready mixed green, but I shall mix it with a bit of... I will end up with more colour than I need here, but I'll just brush them off onto another page. At the start of a page for another time. I may need a tiny bit of blue when I come to making the shadows. More of an orangey red for his jumper. Should have to mix some yellow with that. Some white, definitely. This one also have a little bit of deep green as well. Right, so I think I've got my little palette of colours mixed up. You can see they sort of harmonise quite well with what's there already. I'm kind of hoping this is dry, but no, it's not. I'm going to have to get my heat gun out on that. Now I want to stick my page down. I think I'm going to do that with just good old Pritt stick. I'm not allowed to use the new Pritt stick until we've used up the old ones. Take that glue where I'm going to want the gouache to go, it won't like it. So I'm going to roughly sketch in where I want to finish this off, so that shadow will come up to there, and I'll just fill in the rest with this colour. There's a little bit of that earth there, a bit of lawn you can see, fence starts there, trees or hedge or whatever it is, tree. Sort of wiggle up there, and the fence, and then Peter's arm. Going to sort of come down there. I'm still not going to see much of his other hand, just a tiny bit. Let's let his hand just come out of the picture, shall we? Maybe a tiny bit of the tree as well. Right. I think this is the colour I had for this. Yeah. So let's just get a kind of a base on first. That's not bad. Right, and then so my colour matching isn't perfect, but I think it's good enough. And if I put a bit of the new colour into the old, that'll help to blend it in. I feel like I want a very slight bit of blue in that as well. So I have it dotting, showing through a little bit here and there. Keep turning it round to give me a slightly more comfortable angle to work at. Quite a bit of yellow in this tree further up there, so I'm just adding some yellow in to make mine fit in a bit better. Let's give poor Peter an arm and a hand. As my husband has just helpfully pointed out, it does look a bit as if he's got his arm in a cast at the moment. Trying to get a little slightly darker shade of red, but that's too much. What am I doing? Sometimes you can just get a nice darker shade by adding the complementary colour, which in this case would be green. Yep, that actually did work, putting that tiny touch of green, matched that red up much better. I think actually I'm going to go over those bits where I've extended the picture onto the blank bit. I just want it all blank. I think because it's gouache I can probably shift most of that with some water. With some white. Oh, I'm pretty happy with that. That sort of just extended the original picture out to cover the whole page. And when you, at first glance, it's not too obvious. I'm just going to find a spare page to brush all my leftover paint off on. Need a bit more white paint. Actually, really very slightly off white. I'm just going to mix a bit of this, scrape a bit of what's left in here. Oops. Oh. So I quite like the effect I've ended up getting by mixing the paint on the page. There were little bits of green and red gouache kept coming up, and I put some more of the yellowy colours in and sort of blended it on the page so it's not a uniform colour. And once that's dried, I I think I'm really going to like that, and that'd be quite nice to write my little story on. The other thing I want to do is just because one of the things I love is that this pile of books, the book on the top I think is meant to be this actual book that the page came from, because it's got that kind of beigey colour on the top and the red cover on the bottom. And then another couple of these ladybird books, magnets, bulbs and batteries, and lights, mirrors and lenses, and I have those as well, so I really like that. These are sort of non-specific books. I think this one that's got a red spine with the pages, the spine pointing away from you but red covers, I think that can be my This Is Not a Book. So I'm going to, I think, just use coloured pencil so it stands out and looks different, and just do rainbow the pages, which is probably what I will do with this book, and perhaps write This Is Not a Book along there. So I can imagine I've written This Is Not a Book. Yeah. Right, so everything is ready now to do my bit of writing. I love these illustrations. This really is a lovely one, particularly because of the marbles. I think that's what makes me love it so much. Yeah, I really like how that's worked out. I really like that one of these illustrations I love so much has ended up in my book. So I need to work out how I'm going to write this. I'm going to try writing it like this. Okay, I'm going to write this in and then probably go over with black pencil. That's going to be a bit long-winded and would be very boring to watch, I think, so I will come back and show you when this is done. I finished writing my story. I've written the page prompt as the title of the story, and this is how it goes. "See what I can do, Jane," said Peter. "See what I can do." "Yes, Peter, that is impressive," said Jane, "but please stop messing about. I'm trying to demonstrate how ball bearings reduce friction so that objects can move more easily." "Look, Jane, look," said Peter. "I can spin very fast on this gizmo you made." "It is called a ball race, Peter," said Jane. "Tee-hee-hee," giggled Peter. "Twat," sighed Jane. Sorry for the rude word, I hope I haven't offended anybody, but I decided it just had to be that word. Okay, so I'm done with this page. I quite enjoyed doing that, a bit different. I'm really glad to have one of these little illustrations that I love so much as part of my book. Thanks very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed that. A bit of a different one. I will pop it on the playlist along with all the other This Is Not a Book pages that I've done so far if you'd like to catch up on them. Thanks very much again for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.